Hey, World Cruiser. Hey, we're in Amsterdam, Netherlands, and what you're seeing on the screen here is a time lapse of us trying to go through the locks from the North Sea in the Netherlands. It's our second attempt. Came in earlier at 10 o'clock, and it was full of protesters who prevented us from coming in. So we got this far in the lock, all the way to the end. There were people on that lock right there that spray painted yellow. You can still see the yellow spray paint on the fence. They'd either glued themselves or chained themselves to the lock. So they told us to go back out in the sea 7 miles offshore and wait. Well, it's after 3 o'clock now, and we had a scheduled canal cruise at 8, which we weren't going to make because it takes about 3 hours after you go through the locks to get to Amsterdam itself, where the cruise terminal is. So we rescheduled for 9, and we just barely made it. We got there just a few minutes after 9, and the canal cruise left about 9:15. So protesters didn't end up costing us any money, and we did miss part of a day in Amsterdam, but hey. So it got dark pretty fast, and I wasn't able to show you much of the canal cruise because my camera doesn't do so well when it's really dark like this. But it was fun. We got to see the crooked houses and uh, you know the skinny houses, the crooked houses, and in this situation, there's 7 bridges in a row that you're looking through in the distance. So it's like each one gets a little smaller in the distance. And they're all lit up the same as this first one. So guys slowed down so we could get a picture of it. Anyway, the canal cruise took about an hour, of which I only showed you a few minutes. This is the main central station for Amsterdam, where all the trains and buses come. And the canal boat dock was right across the street from it. And our tour in the morning also originated from that location. So we hopped on a bus, and our first stop was the windmill city. There's a little village out here that still has a bunch of windmills operating. Those are millstones you see in front of you for grinding wheat or something. Uh, Amsterdam is nothing but a big swamp, actually. Most of the country is below sea level, up to 15 meters. And the country used to have about 30,000 windmills in operation 350 to 400 years ago. And they use those windmills to drain the water. So they make a dike all the way around the land, maybe 10 feet up, and then they put the windmills in, and then they pump the water out to a canal that's higher than the lowest land inside. And they have a series of progressively higher canals that they keep pumping to until the water is higher than ocean level and can flow to the ocean. So were it not for these windmills, which have been around for so long, this place would be still underwater, and it would be salt water. But the Dutch figured out how to drain the swamp, so to speak, using the windmills. And they use them in this village here. It has 5 or 6 still operating windmills. There's some kind of a guild, a miller's guild or something, vowed to keep the ones they have still working. So our next stop in the village here was the cheese factory. And of course, we love good cheese. And in this place, they didn't have a showroom that actually demonstrated that we stopped at. But here you can see this is where they put the raw milk in, and they put the rennet in there to make whey, to make curds and whey. And then we'll explain it a little bit later. We took a class in how to do it that I'll explain a little later. But anyway, that's part of the process you saw where they make the curd and then they separate it from the whey and then press it. But these windmills here are fully operational, and that one there was for grinding pigment, for making paint, and it's the only operating windmill left in the world that grinds for pigment. Some of them are windmills for sawmills, and some of them are pumps to pump the water. And this is the one here that is the one that's grinding pigment for paint. So you can actually buy some of that ground pigment in here, but we didn't stay in this one. I just stuck my head in the door and looked. It was mostly a shop for selling souvenirs and stuff. But the sign said it's the only one in the world still operating grinding paint pigment. So you can see on the left is the canal the water is being pumped to, and it's being now, and then the lower fields are on the right, and there's a canal that surrounds them where the water goes. So it's quite an art to figure out how much water to pump out so that the fields are wet enough and not too dry. But they've been doing it for 400 years. So the thing that made them rich was the Dutch East India Trading Company that had places all over the world where they brought in spices and whatnot from the far places in the world and then brought them and sold them to Europe. And the Dutch were really quite wealthy. Here's a sawmill. You can see some of the boards that they sawed right there in front of us. Then I saw this old, I think that's a Russian car I was interested in. I went over and took a look at it. I couldn't find the name of the manufacturer on it anywhere, but I'm pretty sure it's an old Russian car still being used. That little thing is a little 2-cycle engine. Even had a tow hitch on it. I think that's the owner of the windmills car. You don't see too many of those on the road anymore. The next stop was the place where they made wooden shoes. And this museum has a 1913 steam engine that they use to power their machinery, which we'll see in a minute.
Hello everybody! Welcome, my name is Sebastian, and today I'll show you everything about your food. It all started with this piece of wood. It's from a poplar tree.
Poplar wood.
It does not absorb the water really well, so it's full of water. When the wood is wet, it's raised to come with my knife with the machine highly. When the wood is dry, it could break, and I don't like that, so that's why I use wet wood. Steam engine that we're using is from 1930 from Germany. We're the only factory in the whole world that's still making this on a steam engine. These are from brands from 1960, one of the first machines ever used to make wooden shoes. Today we start with this machine for the outside of the shoe with the example, the mortars we call it. In a moment I put the drop of wood next to it, put the blade down, put the bend in the machine. The wheel followed by the top of spinning it quickly. The mold on the drop of wood is facing in different directions. And if you got this is the right wheel, I'm not the left one, that's why you don't go the same way. The mold goes back to slowly, this probably touches the mold, and that's going to be exactly the same as the drop of wood with the wheel knife. I hope everybody understands.
Yes.
Because I want to explain to you again. Okay, we put it in between the machine. So I'll put the steam engine at high power and we can begin. the colors and that makes them really neat and color. And also down the inside of the first side, the inside already has a hole inside. Outside is from the inside out. And when that is left, that is going exactly the same way. So when I put it down, you're going to see a nice little state and we're having machine. There we go then. Now do the edges with a big sharp knife. We start with the front. The front. Wow! Thank you. And the back. And the back. It's almost done, unless it's dry out. It takes 2 weeks, hang them at the ceiling, and after the 2 weeks we polish them and paint them, like these ones for example. If you want to try them yourself, I can say you really do. Remember to put a good figure space behind it, because without, they're going to be too tight, and when you walk the arch into front, you don't want that. So when you try that, put a good figure space behind your wheel. The shoes are not only good for your safety, they're also really good for your feet and for your back. That's a really good arch support. And because of that means you'll be standing straight with your whole posture. Back in the days I grew a lot, so my back was gonna grow like this. I walked like this for a long time. I saw those pictures and I walked like this in these shades. So I walked on my shoes for a long time. And ladies and gentlemen, look how sexy I am today. Thank you for listening, hope you enjoyed it. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, there's a steam engine on your right. There's a cannon there on the left by the window. I don't know what that was for. But anyway, look at the thousands of pairs of shoes that they have in this store. Never seen so many wooden shoes in one place at once in my life. And they really do a beautiful job of painting these things when they're done with the wood turning. Anyway, we bought a couple of nice pairs of wooden shoes back in 1999 when we were here, and we have them on display at home. I think I'm gonna take them out and make planters out of them, like they do here. They put some flowers in them and make display. But look at all those shoes. Can you imagine having to make those all different sizes and interesting. Anyway, our next stop was to take a ride on a boat. So we're taking a walk through this Dutch village just so you can kind of see what it looks like. And we're headed to a ferry. So they built a 32-kilometer dike to close off the ocean where the North Sea comes in here because it kept flooding. This is like in early 1900s. It kept flooding. So a 32-kilometer dike, and then they pumped all the seawater out and turned it into the largest freshwater lake in Europe. And we're going to go from this little town here. It's the name of it, Marken, I guess is the name of it. It's on the side of the boat you're going to see. Over across this freshwater lake to the little village over on the other side where we're gonna, it's Marken. It's the name of this island, this little village. And over on the other side, we're going to go learn how to make cheese and stroopwafels. But you can see the Netherlands it's just it's drained swamp and canals. They use the canals for both conveying the water and for transportation. And this huge freshwater lake now, it took years, many years for it to turn from the salt water that was originally in it to fresh water. But it's like an ocean that's fresh water now. And here we are coming into the other village where the cheese factory and stroopwafel factory is. And we had a nice lunch at a restaurant here and went to 2 classrooms. So by the time we got done, we had like, I don't know, $150 worth of cheese. It's called Volendam. That's the name of the little town that we're in. And I don't have any footage of making stroopwafels, but hey, stay tuned for our next stop, which is in Reykjavik, Iceland. We have 2 sea days, and then we'll come to you from Reykjavik.